Bleav in Vikings, and we are chatting about the week's topics. We were supposed to have Vederian Lowe, a offensive tackle rookie. Hasn't showed up yet, so perhaps our scheduling wires crossed. If he shows up throughout the telecast, all the better. If not, we got us for about 45 minutes. The first thing I'm going to bring up to you, Ron, tonight it's yourself, McKinney, and me, is that Louis Cine was on Patrick Peterson's podcast, and he kind of reaffirmed his history of violence. He said he wants to stack bodies in the NFL, which I've written a couple times on Vikings territory that this was 2001, 2002. It'd be glorious. However, we got to be careful. Do you think Cine will become a dude that's problematic for penalties, or do you think he'll find a way to balance both?
So I do think he'll find a way to balance both. I think, watching, and again, this is just the highlights and everything from Georgia, but it's not like he was getting ejected or flagged a bunch at Georgia. I'm not going to say he's like Andrew Sandeo in the misfire missile, who always led with the crown of his head no matter what he was doing. But Harrison Smith obviously still gets the occasional penalties, so I think it's going to happen. Just any defensive player playing at that speed, it's going to happen. But like I mentioned before, his play style on the field, at least what I saw from him in Georgia, reminded me a lot of Sean Taylor, in that there's a difference between being a physical hitter like that and then being a violent hitter without being a targeted player. Ray Lewis, a perfect example. Like, Ray Lewis is one of the biggest hitters in the NFL, but he was just because he's so strong and his upper body strength and the speed he's coming at you. But I never saw him as a dirty player taking cheap shots like a Vontaze Burfict, for example. So while, yes, when you're playing with that speed, like I mentioned, you're going to be susceptible to penalties. Now, I didn't hear him speak as far as how he said stacking bodies, but in my mind, the way I look at that is, and I'm not taking it back all the way to Steve Atwater days where, if you're going over the middle, you're getting hit hard, and likely in a hit that wouldn't be allowed in today's NFL. But I look at it as he wants to impose his will in the middle of the field that, you're going to be alligator arming it when you come across that middle, because it's going to be Harrison Smith and him. So, I like the mentality of it as long as it's done in a way that's going to keep him on the field. Now, admittedly, if he's making plays and no penalties are being thrown or fines or ejections, then, as a fan, I'm not going to care if, he's, again, not intentionally hurting people, but it's a violent sport. People are going to get hurt. If he's out there just throwing people down and having the wind knocked out of him, whatever, I'm all for it. But yeah, hopefully he has that harnessed enough to not be a detriment to the team. And I think he will be able to find that with the help from Harrison Smith and his experience here in the league.
Yeah, I think so. For listeners, you're going to have to be prepared. There's going to be a couple, no matter what. He's a rookie. He is a self-professed big hitter, a violent dude. So that just equals there's going to be a couple. So I'm trying to figure out, for my fandom perspective, how many is okay. If he is a knock your head off guy, is my over under 2 or 3 that I start to get a little pissed. Brian, I've never heard your speech on this. So a lot of dudes from your era and before claim the game is soft now. And then other dudes recognize, well, it's soft for a reason because we want to prolong careers. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
So, I didn't have to worry about hitting anybody like that, but I feel like it is prolonging careers. So that is allowing people to play a little longer and without having these injuries from those big hits. And I feel like I was part of both. I feel like I was a part of it being rough, and then I feel like towards my end, it was transitioning, and I could see the difference in practice, and they were cutting back 2 a days and stuff like that. And I used to think to myself too, like, wow, if I only had like 1 practice a day, I probably would play longer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just less mileage on yourself. But so I've definitely thought about that before. But it should be able to save some of those guys. Like I said, less mileage on their body, and maybe be able to last, a little longer than what they would normally have if they would have played in the older era.
With one other thing I see with Cine, because of his athleticism, because of his speed, again, the hope is that he's not going to be like behind, like, so he's hopefully that his speed combined with his instincts, that he's not going to be in a position where, again, I pick on Sendejo because I was never a fan of his, but he wasn't very fast. So there were a lot of times when he was late to the play and his only reaction was to lower the head and, again, misfire missile into people. Whereas Seen may be able to make a break on the ball, may be able to meet the defender or meet the offensive player while the ball's coming there. So again, that's the hope in watching him play. But again, I didn't see much of that. I saw violence, but not negative plays from him at Georgia.
Brian,
I can see him having at least 2 situations, maybe 3.
It'll happen.
That happening just because the first time is like you just kind of forget because you're in the moment. Then the second time is like, all right, listen, somebody's gonna probably have a talk with him. So maybe 2, 3 at the most.
What may be concerning, sorry, Dustin, I'm keep cutting you off. The thing that may be concerning, and Tom Brady said it last year, that these veteran quarterbacks, like, they take advantage of younger players by throwing it to draw a flag. So obviously playing Rodgers twice a year, playing some of these other veteran quarterbacks, he may see guys that, hey, I'm going to make my receiver, like, lay my receiver out essentially to get that penalty because the game's officiated at such a level that that favors the offense. So hopefully he, as a rookie, isn't susceptible to that. But we'll find out, I'm sure the second he steps on the field, we'll see what kind of what his play speed is.
Brian, do you have any lingering injuries that you feel on a daily basis from football?
Yeah. It's like say like more like a arthritic type of pain or like, inflammation just in certain areas. Here and there, it's not consistent. Luckily, I'm in South Florida, so they always say like because the air pressure is a little different here because of the nicer weather. That's why like a lot of older people move down here because of the pressure on the joints. But just from time to time I do. But that's why I try to stay active. It's like keeping your bones oil, like, you know what I'm saying? I try to stay active and keep moving around. But with the time period when I first retired, I kind of went into chill mode and didn't want to do much. It was like I felt everything. So okay, keep moving around.
Is it generalized like throughout your joints, or is it your knees, your elbows, or what is it?
It can be, for me, it's definitely my knee, one of my knees, because I had it scoped twice. So like if it's raining, it can be, I know when it's probably raining outside, it's like, okay, it feels a little tight, or, certain things you have surgery on for some reason. I don't know what the rain, I guess the pressure outside, it changes, so it kind of affects your body. So you can kind of feel, you feel some things. But luckily it's here a lot. It's nice a lot here. So I'm not feeling it all the time. But if I lived in like Seattle somewhere where it's always raining, I'm probably
Now, how much or what percentage of that would you attribute to? Obviously, you're just a mammoth human being 6'8", and I don't know what your post-playing weight is, but like I'm sure that has to put a lot, like Shaquille O'Neal. Like I'm sure, like just him being 7 feet, 300 whatever pounds, like that's got to be in itself to put a strain on it. Plus, like whether it's an airplane or a car or whatever, the world's not built for big dudes like you. They're built for guys my size, like 5'7s.
If anything, that probably just adds more pressure to it because, I mean, at the end of the day, we still played those sports and did,
right.
play for the amount of years. So it's not like we can really judge, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Judge,
it's not like you know life without it.
Right. So that's all we know. So it's like pretty much, just could probably possibly add to it. But that's why I was saying I did more things about keeping myself in better shape and cutting down on stuff and stretching. Stretching is a big part.
Do you this is like a real personal episode tonight. What do you eat? Do you eat pretty healthy, or what's your diet?
I started about actually my meal plans today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was doing meal plans for like a couple months, and I was able to drop weight, and then added that to my workouts. So I was working out, and I was like, well, why am I like kind of just staying the same? But there's the meal plan. It's definitely what you eat.
Yeah,
workouts help like get things together, but what you put in your body is probably like 80% of it. And so I started doing that, and that's helped out a lot. And then even like cherry tart juice, like that helps with inflammation. It's just different things that I do that I'm aware of that helps with certain things. So I try to do things like that, or I have the CBD cream and I can rub on my knees every once in a while if I feel like, a little ache and pain. And that's what I do.
And when you were playing, did you not really care, or did you keep it pretty regulated back then?
When I was playing, I don't feel like I really felt. I feel like as soon as I retired, it was like, okay, I feel everything now. And I didn't feel like I didn't really feel much.
What about your diet?
Really, like, my diet, I mean, I just ate. I feel like as I retired, I learned more and more about diets and what you can eat, what you shouldn't eat. Yeah. I feel like I kind of ate what you thought was, healthy. Yeah. You don't really get a good program on like this, that, and the other. Like I had a nutritionist and some of the things I was like, well, I don't really like that. Like clam chowder, you can't really eat clam. It was like just different things that I ate that was like, no. I mean, so, you try to eat healthy, you have, salmon, you have like certain things, but I did towards the end of my career, or I don't know if that was towards the end of my career when I retired, like got away from red meat, stuff like that. I feel like that caused a lot of inflammation. But when I was playing, I think because of the fact that we were working out so much and stuff like that, you feel like you just eat and just burn stuff off too.
Yeah. What about when like not attributable to injuries, but when you do pig out, what's your go-to food?
I mean, it could be pizza. It could be it could be soul food. It could just be something I haven't had in a while. Workshops. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be a little bit of anything. And I always pick a day, like not even a day, because I ain't gonna do it the whole day, but I'll pick like a meal or something. Like, okay, well today I'm just gonna go for it. If we're at dinner, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna just eat this or whatever. But
yeah,
I just try to always make aware, at least during the week, be very conscious of what I'm eating. On the weekend, Friday is still part of the week to me, so Friday I'm still aware. So now either Saturday or Sunday it'll be like somewhere in there where I have like probably something.
Yeah. Mine is
on the other side of it. Oh, go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to say mine is ice cream. I'm never too full for ice cream. And then when ribs are in play, I can usually eat more ribs than I would a normal thing of food because my body just says go for it.
Yeah, ribs and wings, like those ones that keep you busy while you're eating. But I was going to say, Brian, since we're kind of talking like post retirement, on the personal level. So obviously working out when you're in the NFL versus working out now, obviously those are two different the way that it looks. As far as I'm talking like strength training, not the normal, like anyone who follows your Instagram knows whether it's tennis or, you're working out or, playing at Top Golf or whatever. So you're keeping active. But when it comes to like your like strength training, let's say, what are the major differences in how you work out outside of cardio than you did in your playing days?
What I want to say with the NFL is there's different body types. You know what I'm saying? There's 3 different body types. But for the NFL and their workouts, they give everybody the same exact workout. So that might not fit my body type. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they should start doing like more of a study on the body type of a person. Because I'm also that same person who can lose 7 pounds in one practice, People have to understand why is that possible and learn more about their body type and give each body type a different type of workout that's going to be more beneficial for them, because certain workouts for me might not do nothing, like no justice for me, but it might do some justice for somebody else, and just vice versa. So it's like figuring out more of the body types of the individual players. I feel like it'd be a little more beneficial.
That's surprised to hear you say that they don't do that in the NFL. You'd think that would be the one place where having an athletic trainer or whatnot would be like, hey, our offensive linemen need to work out differently.
Some of these trainers, I don't understand their background or how much I don't understand what it is you have to do to be a trainer, especially in the NFL, because I'm like, sometimes I'll ask a lot of questions and some of my answers I get back, I'm like, well, I don't think you really knew the answer, but you just gave me an answer. But I don't think it really has to go that deep. I just feel like it's guys, make them lift weights, make them do certain movements, and that's their workout. It's not, I don't even think they get into the whole body type. I learned more of that when I got to Baltimore with Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis started having me juicing, and Ray Lewis started just teaching me little things because he was more into his body, and he kind of dictated, I guess, like what he wanted to work on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And from there, when I retired, I started to learn about, there's 3 different type of body types, and and I'm shaped more like this, and this is, this works for me, and this, this probably won't, and just knowing what was weak on me and strengthening that area and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot, but I guess they don't have time. You have all those guys there to break down everybody, or all these different body types either.
Yeah. But you'd think again at that level with all the money that they make that they would have those, like, because I'm sure they have diet coach or not coaches, but people that are dietitians there. Like, but I would think that the strength side is just important.
I feel like it's going to tell everybody the same exact thing when, like I said, some people may have food allergies, just different things that they really dig in deeper. So some things that may typically be good for everybody or seem to be good for everybody might affect somebody differently. That's why I say there's different body types, and your body reacts to things different too. Just because broccoli may be good for you, it might not be good for me.
Right.
My my claim, I'm a skinny dude. My claim to fame is I only eat once a day. I'm 6'5", 180 pounds, and I eat at dinner time, and that's it.
You're 6'5"?
Yeah.
I would have never. You would have called me off guard and like. I thought you were like, I don't know, 5'8" for some reason.
Yeah, no.
Because he doesn't look like a tall guy sitting there, every week when we sit there.
I've met him in person, so I can see it.
Ron and I have hung out. We're old veterans here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I played basketball.
I
played basketball at Eden Prairie, and that was my sport of choice. And yeah, I've always been the tall guy. Not as tall as you, but few are. I really wish I wouldn't have said that now because I would have met you in London or whatever. You would have been like,
I would have been so caught off guard. What?
You probably would have given me one of the "Where's the rest of you?" That's what I usually get because I'm not real filled out about 180. So, all right.
You didn't see the picture with me and Evo, the tennis player. He's 6'11", and he makes me like a short fat kid because I'm like wider than him, and he's slim and tall. And I hate this picture.
Is
so
that
there's
on
not
Instagram?
many people.
Yeah, it's on my Instagram.
Oh, okay.
So there's not that many people that make you feel short, like they come
short and then wide. I'm like so much wider than him too, so it's like okay.
Ron,
but that to me, like when you say wide, like it's like that's just your body style. Like there's nothing about you that like looks like overweight. It's just you're just a big human being.
You're like a short chubby kid next to him.
It's like it's not like David Dixon. Like if you remember him, I don't know if you played with him, but David Dixon he looked like a rotund man, like my body shape. Just
Ron, let's get back on current Vikings event topics. So here's what we learned since we last talked, and this is about Kellen Mond. So via Chris Thomason, a friend of the show, Pioneer Press reporter, who spoke with Kevin Mond, who is Kellen's father. Unless Kevin Mond is lying, which I don't think is the case, we learned that Mike Zimmer didn't dislike Kellen Mond as a human or didn't think he was a shitty quarterback. However, when Mond was drafted in the third round of the 2021 NFL draft, Zimmer, unsurprisingly, wanted a defensive player at that spot. Evidently, Rick Spielman said, nope, I like Mond, so we're drafting Mond. And therefore, the implication is that to just stick it to him, Zimmer opted not to really explore Mond or to play him until he absolutely had to for a series. So fast forward to the new head coaching staff who doesn't have any of these weird grudges, resentments. And it seems like we've got a new quarterback. Like, we've got a guy who has a clean slate that, it could be a quarterback of the future if he's groomed properly. So Ron, does this surprise you at all about Zimmer? And second of all, does this kickstart how you feel about Mond?
So I don't know if I'd say any of it's surprising. I mean, I think the last few months have been very telling with both Spielman and Zimmer as far as their relationship, kind of the toxicity that's been around that seemingly is not there anymore. So obviously those two changes seem like hold a big weight of that. But if you go back, even whether it was the Sharif Floyd or, any number of players that had been hurt, like Josh Robinson, I think was one where Zimmer would always comment on their injury or whatever, you can't make the club in the tub, that type of stuff, or, being available. And you could always tell he had that snarkiness to him whenever talking about any of those players, whether it was warranted or not. In a sense, you got it where it kind of made him out to be the bad guy because he was doing the nerve issue with Sharif Floyd. And it's not like it's just some guy who, got fat and happy over an off season and came in out of shape, didn't want to work out, wasn't putting it in. It was like there were some serious injuries or some serious nagging issues that were going on that he was holding it against those players. So it doesn't surprise me that he seems like the type of guy to hold the grudge. And then especially with a young guy that if he was drafted that without his consent, so to speak. So my opinion of Mond has never really changed. like the fact that we have a young guy that can be tailored into being that potential backup, maybe future guy if things go south with Kirk. But I mean, Mon played in the SEC. I know you guys. I listened to the show that you guys talked about last week, and Adam made a great point. Like, well, sounds like he watches a lot more college football than I do. But when you play the SEC, you're not playing chump change. Like, so you're going to have games where you look good. You're going to have games that you look bad. Now, he looked good in, I think it was a game against, was it Alabama maybe, that he looked great. You don't look good against Alabama if you don't have talent. And I'm not going to say that he's going to be better than Malik Willis. They both were drafted, third round. I believe Malik Willis did fall third, I believe. But when Malik Willis played at Liberty, where I don't know what conference that is, I don't know who they play. Whereas Texas A&M, is it Texas A&M? Now I'm all confused. Yeah, yep. They play legit talent week in, week out. They're going to make guys look bad at times. Like look at the national championship, this latest one, is it Bryce Young? Is that the name of the Alabama quarterback? Mm-hmm. He didn't look like a first round pick, but he's being touted as the number one overall pick already. But Georgia's defense made him look probably like Kellen Mond. So either way, you have a guy that's 22 years old. You have one of the most durable quarterbacks that's played in the last decade or so. So when people get all butthurt about, well, Mannion's there. Mannion's he's essentially the backup. When you have someone like Kirk, it's not a bad idea to have a backup that's just cerebral that can kind of be that secondary coach. Now, with an offensive-minded coach in O'Connell, maybe you don't need that, and maybe they only keep two quarterbacks, which I think is the way to go, because if anything happens to Kirk, your season is likely done anyways, like no matter how much other talent is on the team. So then at that point, you let the young guy go and you see what happens. So I heard someone, and I don't know if it was on this show or if it was in somewhere else, where maybe Mond is like a Tavares Jackson, where he has talent, he has tools. Obviously, you don't get drafted as high as he did without having ability. Can he put it all together? That's yet to be seen. But there's also starting quarterbacks in the league that have tools that aren't any good. Daniel Jones comes to mind. Like, he has athleticism, which is just sneaky, but he is not a good quarterback, yet he's a starter in the biggest market in the nation. So there's a lot of guys out there who make it work. Again, no one's rooting for Kirk or there probably are some people who are rooting for Kirk to get hurt. But if anyone looks at Mond other than a potential guy going forward, or a potential backup, then they're overstating the importance as it is. So it'll be good to see him get some live reps, and let's see what he can do. And again, you have a young guy behind a veteran who can take over. So if needed.
If something happens to Kirk, I think I'll disagree a little bit, but not in good faith. If something happens to Kirk, you're absolutely dead and gone, season kaput with Sean Mannion. That's just not happening.
Absolutely.
You might beat the Lions and shit, but that's it. With Mond, there's always the storybook hope that he gets hot and gets good, because we don't know his bottom floor, and we don't know his ceiling either. But with Mannion, unless he's just sabotaged himself in a couple starts, we know it's kaput. He's vanilla.
Right.
With Mond, there's that pizzazz that I think that's why so many people want him to be nominated to QB2, so that there isn't some twilight zone. Uh-oh, here comes Vederian. Vederian, hello, sir.
Hey, how are you doing?
Not bad. You're able to join, huh?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
You're all good.
We got time. Did you want to keep walking? Do you want to sit down, or how do you want to do this?
No, I'm good. I'm just in my hotel. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to the listeners, we had some scheduling hoopla there, but now we do have rookie offensive tackle Vederian Lowe on the show. Tell us, sir, how has the first couple months in Minnesota been treating you?
It's been nice, man. Just getting around, seeing the Twin Cities. It's great here. Just the community that they have, the relationships that the team has established with everybody. Everybody here loves the Vikings. The whole state of Minnesota loves the Vikings. So it's been really great to just get out in the community. We went to an elementary school and just see all like the kids and how much they love the football team and everything. So it's been great.
I saw when I was reading up on you the night that you were drafted by the Vikings that you're from Illinois. So I've got to ask the deadly question. Did you grow up a Bears fan?
No, I didn't. I grew up a Brady fan.
A Brady?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So how that just make a long story short, my father used to like the Minnesota Vikings. So then
Really?
I was watching Randy Moss.
Okay.
And then Randy Moss got traded to the Patriots.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Liking Brady.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That adds up. I like to hear that. All right, Ron, what do you got for Vederian Lowe?
Oh, real quick, I'll touch on that for a second. It's showing our age, Dustin and Brian, here that this generation who, when he says Tom Brady, to me, it's like, well, yeah, like I remember growing up and watching Tom Brady, but you really don't know much of football without Tom Brady. Right? So, but anyway, nice to meet you, Vederian. My name's Ron. It's glad to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So the one thing, before, I don't know, I know our time with you is limited, but the one thing that I did want to ask you about, I know after reading up about you and hearing some of your interviews that you had, you are a father of two, almost 3 and a 1-year-old. Is that correct?
Yeah, I got my 1-year-old and my 3-year-old, and then my brother.
Yep. Yep, I saw that too. So I can sympathize with you there. I also have an almost 3. My daughter will be 3 this week, and my son is 1. So I get that struggle. But where I want to go with it is you also just graduated college, playing football in the Big Ten, and then now transition into your career with the Minnesota Vikings as a professional football player.
Mm-hmm.
How do you juggle all of that, being a student athlete and then making this transition, all while having two kids, 3 and under? Because I know that struggle in its own right, but the rest of it, tell me how you do that.
Man, it's not easy, to say the least, man. Like, every night, like just now, I just came from taking my son to the pool after I just got out OTAs and weightlifting and everything. I come back to the hotel and my kids want to go and play in the pool, but it's definitely a lot, man. But I definitely try to just focus on the things I need to be focused on, just getting my playbook down, making sure that I study hard, making sure that I'm dedicating my mind just to putting the right food in my body, just all those things that go into it and going to being a professional athlete. I try to make sure I dial in on that. And then I also try to make sure that I dial in on being a great father and a great husband, because, those are goals of mine. Those are things that, I want to constantly be day in and day out. And those things don't come easy. If you want to be a great father and husband, you have to constantly work at that. So, I take the same mindset that I do with sports to home. And I think that's how I've been able to juggle both aspects of my life. And I'll be lying if I said it was easy, man. I'll be lying. It's really hard. Really hard. But,
and moving to a new place, everything's coming at you at once, like where there's not a lot of rookies that are going through that. So kudos to you, man. It's good to hear. It sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders, and I look forward to seeing you get out there and contribute to this team.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Bryant, you were the starting left tackle for the Vikings for 9 years. I think that's probably the goal for Vederian here. Do you got any words of wisdom as the left tackle of the Vikings?
I definitely will let you know that things do slow down. The speed of the game and everything slows down the more you get acclimated and used to the snap counts and the plays and everything. So right now, it probably seems like everybody's getting off the ball super fast and everything's moving fast. Just know it slows down. So the more you take reps and get comfortable at your position, things will start slowing down and you'll be able to really hone in and do your thing.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I definitely needed that because I just, even though we in OTAs, man, I feel like, the vets got the hang of it and everything.
Yeah.
Their technique is good. They don't seem like
they already got technique. They're jumping the counts. They're used to the cadence. Things like that. You're trying to get used to, something that's new for you. So right now they're kind of taking advantage of it. It just seems like you feel like you're late. So it gives you that nervous feeling of when you kick stepping and things like that. But you're fine.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I needed that.
You're already a step ahead of Bryant because you're there for the OTAs. He was at this point. He wasn't a member of the OTAs. That's right. he was before all the slotted money. So we didn't get to see him in action until what was it, week 7-ish?
Yeah.
Week 8 or 9.
Yeah. I bet you Vederian might even remember that, being a fan of the Vikings with his dad and all. Vederian,
I I watched a little bit of Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss, and I was real young. I didn't really start liking football till like 06 or 07, whenever Brady had that touchdown season and they went undefeated. That was the year, you know.
That hooked you.
Yeah, that was it right there.
Let me ask you this. This might be a little difficult to answer, so bear with me. As you probably know, the Vikings got a new general manager and a new head coach for the biggest change in 16 years for the franchise. And there was this tender period of a few weeks where we didn't know if the team was going to rebuild or go all in with the roster. And it appears that they're keeping the same roster intact. So based on what you know, does this feel like an all-in football team that's going to make a push to the playoffs?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think that with Coach O'Connell coming in and him being from the Rams and him just fresh off of a Super Bowl, literally like 3-4 months ago. Like fresh off of a Super Bowl, like he knows what it takes to win. He's been around greatness, been around, Matthew Stafford, Odell, Aaron Donald, he's been around all the great guys, that the Rams have. And, he always brings it up in meetings. He thinks that what this team has, what we bring to the table, he thinks that we can compete with the best of them. And then just with our head coach having that much confidence in it, I've only been here for 3 weeks. And I'm like, man, we could take anybody. But, Coach O'Connell has really just instilled in us that, we have a great thing going. And just from him being where he's been at, we really Bleav in him. And I'll definitely say that everybody's all in. Okay,
that's a big inflection point because nationally, some pundits, experts, whatever, look down at the roster and they're like, this is the same damn thing. And so they forecast another 8-9 season or 9 or 8. But I really wanted to know the vibe. Like, are we being sold an all-in team, but it's really this faux rebuild year? But it sure doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, no, I feel like, just me just looking on the route, like looking around at practice every day. And I really think that, we have a bunch of great talent, on our roster. And I think that, with this coaching change, boosts the morale, it boosts, the guys' spirit, to want to come into work every day and go hard. Coach O'Connell does a great job. Once again, I've only been here a few weeks, but just from what the vets say, he does a great job in taking care of us. And I think that, that just makes guys want to buy in. It makes guys want to play for him more. And I think that, he'll get more from his players, which inevitably will result in more wins. So, that's just my take on it.
Well, that's more than acceptable on this end. Ron, I think we got Vederian for about 5 more minutes. You got anything else? Pick his brain?
Yeah. So you said that you've been here now for 3 weeks. So kind of a 2-part question. First of all, now I'm sure it'll change once you get into actually playing games and preseason and all of that. But what was that first moment of the realization of I'm in the NFL? Like I know nothing's earned or nothing's given at this point. It's all going to be earned from here on out. But what was that first realization? No, right. But that realization of like that you were drafted, only 200 some odd names a year can say that. So, that's a huge congratulations for all the hard work that you've put in. So that's part 1. But then part 2, what's your favorite thing in the 3 weeks about the Twin Cities area that you've gotten to see so far?
Hold on, I'm gonna answer part 1 for him real quick. Part 1, he gonna realize like on a Monday or Sunday night game, he look around all those cameras and it's like a commercial break. Like I'm in the NFL. That's when you're gonna really think about it and realize it. But go ahead.
Yeah, to answer like the first part of that question, I think that like you said, I probably won't really get while I'm in the NFL till first Monday night, Thursday night game or whatever. But I think that just for me being here these last few weeks, I think that the first time I was like, wow, I'm really here is just when we finally go out to like one of the first OTA practices and I'm looking around and, I see, Brian O'Neill just came back in the room and, I think he was a Pro Bowl tackle last year. I'm like, wow, like that guy's really good. Then you got Kirk Cousins, he's the way he's leading the huddle and everything on the practice field. I'm like, okay, wow. Like you got Dalvin Cook in the backfield and the way he's moving. I'm like, man. And then you got Justin Jefferson. He come out there with his grill on and his Cuban link diamond chain. And I'm like, man, like this is crazy. Like all the guys, Daniil Hunter, you got Zadarius Smith, like Patrick Peterson, guys that I grew up watching for years now. It's been at least 5+ years that I've been watching these guys. And I'm like, wow, like I'm really on the same team as all these guys. So that was probably my welcome. Not my welcome, but like my wow moment, like I'm really here. And what was the second part of your question?
With your 3 weeks here, what's your favorite part or the most eye-opening thing about the Twin Cities that you've gotten to experience since you've been here?
Yeah, honestly, I think that just in the last few weeks I've been here, me and my family have been up here, and we kind of, been able to drive around and everything. And I've always thought there was nothing to do here. I always thought there was like nothing around. I've always thought they got the Mall of America, but like that's it. That's really it. Other than that, but like there's a lot of activities. There's a lot of nice towns around. I'm always thought it was just Minneapolis, and that was it. I didn't know anything about St. Paul. I didn't know I didn't even know what the Twin Cities were before I got here. I had to Google when I got here. But yeah,
especially with kids, there's a lot to do. In the suburbs areas, like even the Renaissance Festival, that type of stuff, like just unique things. And then when the state fair rolls around, that'll be an experience too that you'll have to check out. But it's good to hear that you had a welcome surprise with the Twin Cities. I'm born and raised here, so I'm a little partial to it.
Okay.
Vederian, let me get this straight. You're from Rockford, Illinois, and you thought the Twin Cities would be boring?
I literally I didn't even know what the Twin Cities were. Like I thought it was Minneapolis and that was it. Like I didn't know nothing about St. Paul, never heard of that. Like somebody, when I got drafted, one of my teammates from Illinois was like, "Yeah, you're excited to go to the Twin Cities?" Or I was like, "What does that even mean?" Like, you mean Minneapolis? Like I did. So when I finally got here, I was like, we were about to go. I think they were about to take all the rookies to a Twins game.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does a Twins even stand for? So I had to Google it real quick. I'm like, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I bet you. Yeah, instantly made a little bit of sense there.
Yeah.
And then you were able to check out you were at the Adam Thielen softball game the other night, correct?
No. I think that was last night, I Bleav. But
was
no,
last night. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was last night. I wasn't there though. I was here. Us rookies, we got a different schedule. We got extra work. Like
we gotta be in there earlier. Then they gotta be in there later.
Yeah, we in there a little earlier. We leave later, way later than they do.
Right.
We got rookie meetings and everything, and then you gotta go home and get in the playbook. So yeah, it's definitely. But no, it looked like it was a great event.
All right, Vederian, our last question, then we'll let you go. So barring injury, the Vikings have 2 tackles that presumably expect to start in Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill. You, as a rookie, where do you expect to carve out your niche or role on the 2022 team and beyond?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, with both of those guys being so talented and both being so young, they're here to stay. And honestly, like just throughout my whole entire career, I've always been kind of, thrown into the fire, freshman in high school, starting on varsity. And then I go into college and I'm a true freshman, playing in the 6th, 7th game of the year. I've never really gotten a chance to develop. I never gotten a chance to learn from the older guys and really got the chance to hone in my game. So I'm really, taking these years for granted. I'm really making sure that to make the most out of these years. I'm making sure that I learn as much as I can from them so that when it's my time, I can go in there and immediately be effective. I don't want to, just sit back there and be like, oh, they got it. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna play at all the next few years. So
I never think like that though, because like it's only an injury away, and then all of a sudden you in there. So it's like every moment you try to learn from them and just take what you can take, because I've seen those situations happen where guys, like even in the middle of a game, gets injured and the other guy's like, it's like, oh, you really prepared this week.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like Brian's always, in practice, he's already so great at what he does. He's been doing this for 4 or 5, I think it's his 5th season now. He's at the top of his game, I feel like right now. He's such a great player, and even in practice, he's always like, when you're doing this on the run, like do this, or on your set, do this. He's always giving me little techniques, and I'm always trying to make sure that I really focus on those and remember those, because those, it works for him. He does a lot of great things, and that's why he's the type of player that he is. So I'm just trying to make sure that I learn as much as I can from those guys. And even Christian, with him being as young as he is, he's a really great player, and it shows in this film. So I'm just trying to make sure I learn from those guys. So when it's my time, I can go in there and produce immediately.
And as far as I know you're a tackle by trade. How comfortable are you playing other spots on the line?
As of right now, I'm really just trying to learn a right tackle right now.
Okay.
I played left tackle like the last 5 years of my career, so I never had to move around. I've only played one specific position. And, going from left tackle to right, it's like going from trying to write with your right hand to going right with your left.
Yeah.
Like,
Brian's mentioned that before too, and then
I
always
left
equate
Minnesota.
it.
I left Minnesota and I went to the Ravens, and Michael Orr was the left tackle, but I played left tackle. And I was like, well, I don't know if y'all want me to come there because I'm not playing right. But he moved over to the right and I played left.
So basically it sounds like it's not as easy as Madden makes it seem, where you just move them from the left to the right and all's good.
It's literally like trying to write with your other hand. They're non-dominant. I've been just trying to learn that position. So, if that time comes and the coaches need me to kick inside, I'll do anything to help the team, to help the room. But right now, I'm just trying to make sure that I can be a great swing tackle, for the O-line. Just wherever they got to put me, I just make sure that I'm productive.
Excellent. Well, listen, Vederian, we appreciate you joining us. I hope you'll remember our names. I know you remember B-Mac. Maybe we'll hit you up in the preseason after you got a couple of games under your belt, and we'll chat if that's all right with you, good sir.
That's perfectly fine, man. Just hit me up. I'm always down. You guys are a great bunch of guys. I appreciate it.
All right, nice. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, I had a great time. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Later.
Feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions about anything Twin Cities related or whatnot. Whether Twitter or whatnot. I can give you the spots, especially with a 3 and a 1 year old, and what
Ron's the
their
SME.
boat, so.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right, have a good one.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
All right, B-Mac. Hey, question, B-Mac. Did you ever have that starstruck, like when you got there in 2002 with Moss and Culpepper, or were you already a big enough thing at Miami that, superstars didn't?
Nah.
He had more stars on that Miami team than
I would say those two were the two that I was like, you know what I mean? Because when I came, it was a new team, so like a lot of new guys came in, but Culpepper and Randy Moss were like, to me, Minnesota, at the time. So those were the two people who I was like, I can't wait to see how they act, or how they are. We're going to be cool and stuff like that. And ended up becoming cool, both of them, because Dante had some family in Miami, and I guess I knew them as well. And then Moss, we just hit it off between like me. I think he just liked hanging with the big fellas because he always hung with like me and Dave Dixon a lot too. And I kind of gravitated towards Dave Dixon because he was real mellow and cool, and he, would teach you things. He, wasn't like too much. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, this is a cool guy too. So yeah.
So on that right tackle thing, is it just like flat out gets on your nerves if you'd have to switch over, or is it really like true trying to learn?
I feel like he described it like perfect. Like it's like if you're used to writing with your right hand, and also they're saying write with your left, and they want you to have the same type of like a signature. It's like, wait a minute, I haven't done this. Like, so at the beginning when I learned offensive line, I immediately learned left tackle, and it was a struggle for me because I wasn't left-handed. So everything you had to do with your left was out of your left. So then after years of doing it, you get used to it. I became accustomed to it. So now it's like trying to reprogram yourself. Like, to me, like that swinging back and forth, no. That's why I made it very clear when I went to Baltimore. Like, I'm not going over there. Like, I'm not playing right. If you want to be effective, give me a left. So
it worked.
No, also, Brian, I know you had mentioned that in your first game, that it was a former teammate of yours that, in your first game, this first sack that was given up, although it wasn't your fault.
It was a cover sack at that. It wasn't like he even beat me off the ball. It was a cover sack. Yeah.
But so was there ever a player or a moment where when you were lining up, whether it's, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like a Jason Taylor or one of those type of guys where you looked up across from you and that was like kind of your like, oh shit moment? Like I know Ben Lieber's talked about it on the Power Trip before about when he was a linebacker.
It was a Jason Taylor. When it was a Jason Taylor, Simeon Rice, those guys, it made me like, oh, this is my chance. Like, I want to see how I do against them. KGB, I didn't really know him.
Right. You kind of came out.
When I got there, I was like, who is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he was like, so, like a Gumby and elusive and all types of stuff. So I was like, kind of like stuck, like, who is this guy? Like, I feel like they didn't give him as much props as they probably should have during that time. By 2002, when they came, I don't think he was getting as much props as he should at the time. Later on, you started hearing his name more too, but Jason Taylor and Simeon Rice were like their bigger names. So I was kind of like, prepared for them. I mean, prepared for him too, but I just wasn't. That was my second game too. So I didn't even know him. I wasn't familiar with him as a player.
Yeah, Ron, KGB, kind of like Daniil Hunter. We knew who he was, third rounder, 2015, 2016, but he really didn't become household until 2017, 2018. And I mean, everybody in Minnesota was like, this guy is the shit. Look at him. And then, I bet you he had that same type of phenomenon with O tackles and whatnot. Yeah. The other news this week, Ron, we'll wind down on this topic, was Albert Wilson is joining the team in a probably WR4, WR5 capacity, maybe a punt returner. And that was after D.D. Westbrook, I think, said no thanks to the Vikings. So I dug into Albert Wilson's resume, and he hasn't returned punts in the NFL. He's returned kicks 4 times, but at Georgia State, he was an absolute Swiss Army knife that did all of that jazz. So do you, sir, believe that Albert Wilson is, potentially slated to be the punt returner?
I don't see him as a punt returner just because, like you said, he's never done it.
Yeah.
He does seem like that shifty kind of guy, but I equate it as to in the sense of like what Aldrick Robinson was for us a few years ago, just veteran, like a 4th wide receiver, someone that that you can rely on, but you're not going to thrust him into more action that is needed. While again, you can never have too much depth, especially veterans. When outside of Thielen, that's a very young receiver room. I mean, like it's Jefferson and Osborne in their 3rd year, Smith Marset, Jalen Naylor, like these guys are all young. So bringing in a veteran who has had experience on some teams, he's had some success at the NFL level, obviously, like he's a quality player. I don't think anyone would confuse him with a star by any means. But you need those type of guys. I mean, you have 53 men on the roster. You can't have young rookies and 2nd-year guys mixed in throughout the lineup. So now again, I don't see him as a returner because I think Wangwu has the kick return, and I think between Marset or even KJ Osborne possibly as the punt returner. But I think he has the leg up to be that wide receiver 4, or it might mean the end of the road for BC Johnson, unfortunately, because I think the other guys, the top 3, I think are pretty well set, and then it'll be a competition.
Yep, and then all the other wild card would be whether or not Chisena makes it for special teams, because he played almost every special team snap last year.
Yep.
Well, listen, gang, we will be off next week. I will be in Seattle with a family road trip, but we'll be back on the 15th. Any closing arguments, Bryant?
No, I can just let some of the Viking fans know that I'll be hosting a trip September 28th through October 3rd to London. And they have package deals that come with a lot, lower level seats to the game, transportation to and from the game, pre-game, a tailgate party. It's a bunch of things on this list, but we can get into that as we get more and more into the season and stuff.
Wonderful.
And then also there's another event that I saw. What is it in June here that you'll be in town for?
Yeah, June 18th. Chester Taylor's coming. I got him to come on the trip. So
really?
There will be 2, yeah.
Yeah, and that is sponsored by Skoll Marketing, and that's Byron Chamberlain, Robert Tate, and Robert Griffith.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's in Hopkins, right?
Rochester.
Well,
no, there's an event, that Friday, I think, for Robert Griffin, I think, that's Friday.
Oh, that's the one I was talking about. The Rochester one I don't know about.
But then the charity event is in Rochester.
Oh, okay. Sweet. All right, gentlemen. Well, appreciate you holding it down, and I'm glad Vederian joined us, but we will see you guys in 2 weeks, all right?
Okay.
All right. Later. Let's go.
Sounds good.